All right, we want to thank you for watching our special Matter of Fact tonight, the hard truth about bias with Soledad O'Brien. We're continuing the conversation right now here on our Facebook page, also on the KSBW Facebook page, along with the San Francisco Chronicle Facebook page. And we've gathered together people from the parts of Northern California, the Bay Area, the Central Coast, to continue this conversation. A lot to unpack and a lot to talk about after we watched what was just a very intriguing, almost hour and a half of conversation about where we are when it comes to race and bias here in America today. I want to introduce you to our guests today. We have Zara Ballou, Executive Director of CARE Bay Area, Claudia Melendez-Salinas, author and journalist, Tyler Williamson, Monterey City Council member, Nomsa Ndongwe, with the West Coast chapter of WCAPS, Women of Color Advancing Peace and Security, Christy Haggins, Safe Black Space Board President. Also, Tia Harrison, Safe Black Space Board Vice President. Also, Richard Cornelius, Black Men of Sacramento, and Lorene Pryor, Black Youth Leadership Project, along with Ron Jimenez, Latinos United, and Herman Barahona with the Latino Leadership Council. He is the president. Also, we want to welcome Marcel Baker, 100 Black Men. My name is Gulston Dart. I'm one of the journalists at KCRA in Sacramento. And again, I just want to say welcome to all of you. So a lot to go over tonight, and just to kind of sit back and let some of this digest. So if I could, Hong Mei Peng, can I just start with you? What was your reaction tonight?
I thought it was definitely very, very appropriate and timely for this conversation to be happening. We know that discourse shapes reality, and how you think and talk about race does not just revolve around your personal attitudinal prejudices. It's not just about bias. It has the power of manifesting into actions of significant consequence. And so we're living in an age where racism and xenophobia and bigotry has been the rally cry for some terrifying things to happen in this country. And, when you have bias and marshaled with institutional and structural power, and, you have seen this presidential administration galvanize some very painful and dark parts of American history to create realities that have silenced, excluded, and justify unimaginable horrors for immigrants and people of color and marginalized people. And in my community, where I work at Chinese for Affirmative Action, we have launched a national campaign to capture some of the impact that his recent, anti-Asian sentiments and, hatred has manifested into hate crimes in this country. And, we've tallied over 2,700 incidents in a short span of time since March. And 46% of the incidents are happening here in California, where women and youth are disproportionately impacted, bracing the pain of racial inequity, violence, epithets getting spewed in their direction, getting spat on, shunned, assaulted, and bullied. And so we understand that this is happening in lockstep with other people of color in this country, from Charlottesville to Black Lives Matter, all the way to immigration policies at the border.
Well, okay, Hong, thank you so much. And I forgot to introduce you to also Hong Mei Peng, Chinese for Affirmative Action. And thanks for your response. I really appreciate that. And we've got so many people here. I don't want you guys to feel like I'm going to have to ask a question between each comment. I want this to feel as much as we can like we're sitting in the same room, which we really are virtually. So anyone who feels like they can jump in at a good time is great. And Tyler Williamson, if I could just jump over to you real quick. Listening to some of these people's story, did any of that ring true for you growing up?
Well, so my mom served in the Navy for 20 years. I was born in a naval hospital. So I don't have what I think many people view as a traditional Black experience growing up. I didn't grow up in a Black community. I grew up in schools where they were predominantly white people. And so, it does relate, because at the end of the day, when I walk around, people see the color of my skin. They don't see the history of my life and the communities that I grew up in. Right. So it absolutely does relate. And now being on the city council in a community that is over, I think it's like 78% white people, it has its own challenges for sure. So,
who wants to jump in?
I'm Ron Jimenez with the United Latinos. I kind of too experienced that, being Mexican-American, second generation, growing up in Sacramento. My parents were first generation, and they saw their parents being discriminated in Northern California. So I was Ronald Jimenez. I was not in, had that Mexican culture into my life experiences growing up. It wasn't until I went to community college that I found what Latino La Raza was. So I kind of, with Tyler, I can relate to that.
Richard Cornelius, go ahead and jump in.
Yeah, thank you, Gulston. I thought it was really interesting about the stereotypes that are kind of infused as a child, to look at the different shows that they had, Peter Pan, Dumbo, and that they, you know, basically coming up were desynthesizing, you know, that aspect of how Black people were looked at, and I had never thought of that before. I thought that was really interesting.
Yeah. Yeah, I also just, you know, listening to a couple of things that stuck out to me when we heard the author of White Fragility asking people to try to put aside that thought, you know, that, hey, I'm not racist. And, you know, for people who, you know, are of European descent or something along those lines, of which there are a great many wonderful people, the most of which are that way, it's probably pretty hard to put that aside. Nomsa, what do you think?
Thank you for asking me that question, Gulston. I am from Zimbabwe, which is in Southern Africa. I like to tell people I'm from the deep, deep South. And I served as a diplomat at the United Nations in Geneva for 3.5 years. And something that would happen to me very often was whenever I would make an intervention or start speaking or introduce myself to somebody, they would be taken aback and then say, sorry, I thought you said you were from Zimbabwe. And I say, yes, I am. And they say, but you sound American, or, but you speak English so well. You don't sound like you're from Africa. And you're just taken aback because these are supposed to be diplomats. We're supposed to be people who are very good at being very inclusive of everyone. And you're just discounting not only a country, but an entire continent to say that you don't think that people who come from that continent would speak English in a way that you would understand if they don't have a particular accent.
Yeah.
And it's just bias, right? They don't mean anything bad by it, but it definitely does not come across as a compliment.
Yeah, I think that's a good point. I think a lot of people, well, I mean, just from my own experience, you know, anecdotally, it doesn't come from a bad place. In some cases, maybe they're even trying to, in their own way, pay you a compliment, but that's not really what it is. Yeah.
No, it isn't. And that's why with our organization, Women of Color Advancing Peace and Security, we are trying to build a community of people who are going to help each other, because our fearless leader, Ambassador Bonnie Jenkins, said, it's not that there aren't people like me in this field, we're in the field of peace and security, but it's that I don't know them. And just the act of building that community, just the act of expanding the experience that other people are going to have, allies and advocates and friends and supporters, is going to change people from making such a statement and thinking it's a compliment.
Yeah. Another interesting part of the presentation tonight was when they did the so-called blind experiment, for lack of a better term, experience, I think they called it, and just getting the different reactions, not knowing who else was taking part in the experiment. And it is interesting what we allow ourselves to see and sometimes not see. And you know, just looking at Dr. Christy Haggins, I'd wonder if you'd be able to kind of weigh in on that a little bit.
Sure. Thank you so much. I'd be happy to. I really appreciate the opportunity in particular, because as an African-centered psychologist and community healer, all of this and what was covered in the presentation was amazing in terms of the length and the breadth to which was covered, understanding some of the historical kind of components related to our experiences as people, and particularly from the Black experience. And I don't know if I'm going to answer your question, Gulston, so please remind me if by the time I'm done with my comments, if I got to it or not.
Okay.
I wanted to just kind of acknowledge the truth and the reality that racial stress and trauma is very real for Black people in particular, and it does impact us in terms of our mental, our physical, our emotional health. And, there were some comments that were made. I just wanted to highlight about the insidiousness of racism and the historical context for us, and that we are all impacted by it. So it is this very unconscious way in which assumptions are made about many people of color and marginalized groups. And in particular, as I focus on work and we do with Safe Black Space around Black people, is this idea of our inhumanity and us not being seen fully in our magnificence. And so we will have different reactions to experiences based on our background. And again, some of the information presented today is a great example of why that may be the case and why it's so important to unlearn and relearn messaging around the greatness of Black people, that we are not to be feared or are seen as criminals and all the other things that are often attached to us by history.
Who else wants to weigh in on that?
If I might piggyback on that, Dr. Banaji had said when she was speaking that if we put all people in the same place, everyone would react the same. But that's just not where we live. We live in a society where we've all been affected by different environmental factors coming up. And so how we react to things are going to be vastly different. You can, as Soledad's show was going on, I was taking a look at some of the comments that were coming in. And when you talk about people that were reluctant to reflect on what's going on and see anything else than what they know, there were some people that just absolutely believe that white privilege doesn't exist in the comment section. So everybody's in a different place when it comes to this walk towards recognizing their own biases and things like that. And I think it's important that we continue to have these conversations, because there's some people that are going to need a little more conversations than others to move along that path.
Yeah. Well, let me play devil's advocate for a minute here and maybe, I don't know, roll a hand grenade or maybe a stink bomb into the whole thing here. But, we hear about white privilege, and sometimes people who criticize the idea of that existing say, look, you have American privilege. You live in the US. It's an imperfect place, but you have a lot going for you. Why do you not take advantage of that?
So I'm happy to jump in on this one. Thanks, Gulston, and really everyone that's having this conversation. We all carry various types of privilege. So I have American privilege, I have English speaking privilege, I have a graduate degree, right? I have lots of different types of privilege. The reality is, if you were to take two people exactly the same, all the same, privileges or non-privileges, and you add white skin to one of them, their circumstances change significantly, right down to how they're treated when they walk down the street. So when they walk down the street, when the police pull them over, when a store cashier looks at them, all of those things, right? And that's just what we see. That doesn't account for the deeply embedded racism in our country's foundation, because that white skin probably also has an impact on where they live, what job opportunities they got, which schools they went to, how those schools were funded. And so for anyone that's saying, well, don't complain about white privilege because you too are privileged, I'm saying, look, like, I can walk and chew gum at the same time. I have certain privileges. I named them. I use those privileges to challenge white privilege and systemic racism and anti-Black racism. And so it is the case that if we're on TV right now, if we're on Facebook Live and we have a computer in front of us, we're all really privileged. And what people should understand is that we are putting that privilege to work, and we're asking people with more privilege than us to do the same, because the amount of sacrifice and contribution people need to make is proportional to what they have. I don't ask undocumented people, for example, to protest on federal property and risk arrest. I have the privilege that applies in that situation. And so I'm not going to ask my Black brothers and sisters to confront white supremacists. That is very much the job of white people.
Anybody else want to
jump into that, if that's okay? I totally agree with what Sarah, I hope I'm not butchering your name, said. We do have, if we are here in this moment, it's because we are tremendously privileged. And we do have an obligation to speak up for people who are from our communities who do not have that privilege and that luck. And it's very exhausting. It's very exhausting because we are confronting the same issues that they confront, but there's so few of us doing this work. And when I was watching this hour-and-a-half show talking about the roots, the causes, the things that we have experienced in our lives is really, really exhausting. I mean, just the fact that there's an organization called Safe Black Space, it just makes me feel like, yes, we need to have safe spaces where we can feel that we can bring these burdens that we carry all the time, that everybody is doubting that we carry. People do not believe that there's white privilege. And I love my white friends, but I also do not like when some of them, not too long ago, a white friend of mine, a woman said, I am not racist. And it's not that you are racist, but it's that the background you have, the way you look at the world, it is very different. Your experience is so different, and you're not seeing a lot of what's really ailing all of us. You're not seeing how exhausting we are in this moment. And I know everybody's exhausted, but we were exhausted before COVID. We were exhausted before George Floyd. We were exhausted before Breonna Taylor. We were exhausted before Viviana Guillen. And it just doesn't stop. And it's so that's what I want to contribute for now.
If I could just jump in real quick too, to add to both of their comments, I think that there's something about intersectionality too that a lot of us experience in communities of color, right? So I'm Black.
Really quick, Tyler, just explain to some of the Facebook viewers what you're talking about there.
Yeah, so intersectionality is when you come from one community that's suppressed for some reason, and you happen to come from another one or multiple of them, right? So I give my own example. I'm Black and I am gay. And so me being Black has its own struggles and challenges that I experience through life. But then put on top of that, the fact that I'm gay, and you can hear stories about how difficult it is to be gay in the Black community. And so I have to explain myself oftentimes, kind of to the point that Claudia was speaking to folks in the community. And it's difficult because I feel like I should have to explain myself. And so there's great communities in the organization. And I just like to give a shout out to one of them, Whites for Racial Equity. I love what they do because their mission is to do the work for solving racial inequities in the community as white people, because they don't feel like Black people should be doing it, right? So it's great to have them stand as allies with me in the community to support the cause. And so we need more groups like that.
I want to see if I could talk to Lorene, and then I want to also talk to Herman really quick. But first, Lorene, you work with Black Youth Leadership Project. So talk about what you do, what the program we just watched tonight kind of funnels into what you do and what you see day in and day out.
So what the program tonight really made me really hone in on is our advocacy work on behalf of Black children in the school district. So right when Black students walk into the school, there are certain biases that already are part of their teacher's psyche. And so we see that our Black boys as early as preschool are being funneled into special education. Their parents are asked to go get them psych evaluations. They're asked to put them on medication. And as they grow in that system, you'll see suspensions start to become part of their academic experience. And so I think that a lot of times when we're talking about privilege or white privilege, we have to acknowledge that 80% of our teaching force is white women. And what I saw or what I noticed about Soledad's program is there were no white women represented on that panel to talk to why they should be confronting the Amy Coopers out in society. That is not for us to keep going back and forth and to be arguing about whether white privilege exists or any of that foolishness. We have to acknowledge that something has happened. It's happened for a long time. It is ingrained in this culture, in this American culture. And how are we going to implement solutions so that one, Black people can just live their lives, and two, we can stop putting the onus on Black people and we can start sharing the responsibility to correct it. Because until we can acknowledge what is going on, we will not fully correct it.
Okay, thank you, Lorene. And Herman, I'm just wondering about just your life experience and what you saw in the program tonight, if you could just share with us.
Oh man, do we have time?
All the time you need, buddy.
So Well, the first thing my reaction to it is this is all about power. And I believe, and this is a conversation we're having at the Latino Leadership Council and other partners that we have in Sacramento, that we have to figure out a way to accept responsibility of how we build power ourselves, right? And that's not an easy challenge, considering all the different scenarios that we experienced growing up here. But it's also about understanding that without this struggle, without the push to build power, we're never really going to build the kind of awareness and the higher levels of power that this country has built for over 200 years. We really have a lot of work to do to make sure that our story is in the circles of power, that we have to determine our own destiny through that effort. That hopefully at some point will begin to break down some of the old barriers that people are scared of losing. We know that the population of this country is changing, and we have to be able to figure out how to build a new culture, a new institutional system that welcomes all kinds of points of views, to figure out how to break down this really ancient barriers that are not really working for this country anymore. And in fact, that's what's dividing it right now. That's why we're so polarized. We have to figure out how to go through, I guess, a 12-step program of, hey, I'm a recovering, racist, and then figure out how do we fix that, right? Because it's really about building relationships and going with the people who are willing to embrace that new challenge.
So where do we go from here? I mean, we've got this great conversation going, and there's a lot of great work that's already being done, but what do you take away from tonight, and how do you go out into the community and talk to people who look like you, who don't look like you, who think like you, who don't think like you? Just I know it's a tall order, but that's kind of the challenge that everyone has tonight. And Tia, if you don't mind, I'll start with you.
Yeah, of course. Thank you.
Yeah.
I know for us at Safe Black Space, one of the most important things is just focusing on us. I know one of the brothers at the end of the documentary, or the live with Soledad that we just watched, he said something like, it's not us, it's you. He was talking in reference to white people. He said, it's not us, it's you. It's just my job to survive, right? And that resonated with me. Except I would say it's not just my job to survive, but it's our job. It's our job as a collective, especially as Black people. It's our job to look to one another, to unify, to heal, to help each other heal. But obviously, like we have this diverse panel tonight, to reach out and network with the other people who do want to affect change, and who are also working towards a common goal of unity and just collective, just loving each other and being one with one another across communities, across the world. I think that's where it starts. It starts with us and branching out to everyone else that we notice and that we see also wants to do this work of love. This is love work. So
love does have a lot to do with it. And with that, really well put, Tia. And by the way, let's just do a quick lightning round here with final thoughts. And I'll go back to where I started. Hong Mei Pang.
I just appreciate so much hearing from everybody on this session, and also the program. I just want to say that in our home state of California, there is a long history of social movements that's from the place of collective struggle. And I just wanted to share that, our organization is working on bringing back values of equity and diversity through Proposition 16 in California. So, I look forward to learning and working with all of you to have this difficult and meaningful and important conversation. And if you want to learn more about Proposition 16, go to voteyesonprop16.org. And I just wanted to thank everyone. And in 28 days, we have an opportunity to make a difference. So everybody vote early, vote by mail, vote up and down the ballot, and our future belongs to us.
All right, Hong Mei Pang, thank you very much. Let's go really quick next to Richard Cornelius.
Thank you. One of our strategic objectives is to be involved and connected with our community. And one way that we're doing that is we are putting on a series of town halls that'll go on starting in 2021, where we will actually connect and get the pulse of what's going on, but really educate on a lot of these issues and topics that we're talking about. I think it's important that a lot of people have been silent, even though as you look over the years, we are making noise about the racism in that, but it still is live today. Sacramento, largest employer, state of California, there are many individuals that work there that are of color, that their supervisors and bosses still have that thumb on them and will, you know, because you want a promotion, you'll be silent. We have to educate our people just in that aspect and others. So the 100 Black Men of Sacramento, again, definitely involved, connected, and looking to do a whole bunch more out there.
All right, Richard, thanks. Final thoughts, Dr. Haggans.
Yeah, thank you. So it's been an honor to be a part of such a distinguished panel and to hear all the feedback from folks. I think my final comments are just really wanting to highlight something that I know I've seen and experienced, particularly in the Black community, is this whole idea of exhaustion and being tired. And I heard someone say, you know, we've been tired and fighting for 400 years. And white folks, it's been a few months, right, that people have kind of woken up, right? And, you know, that's a generalization, but just understanding that we are exhausted and that we are tired. And so in that messaging is hoping that people really understand, like I was saying earlier, that racism is real, not questioning and discounting folks when they talk about that being part of their experience is so crucial. And part of that as well is highlighting, of course, the work that we do, that we need our own kind of private spaces sometimes to do our inner family work. So that's part of what Safe Black Space is, to come together in our own communities to heal ourselves. And then in doing that, that again makes us more able and capable to work with each other across our racial and ethnic groups. So I just want to highlight the importance of that as well, that kind of both and approach, that we need all of that. So thank you so much.
Thank you. Claudia.
Thank you so much for offering this space. I really feel very privileged. Wanted to give a shout out to my white friends, because I have some and they're amazing, and we cannot do this work alone. We really need them as much as we need to have allies in communities of color, like Hong Mei mentioned, because this has strengthened us. But this cannot be a work that can be done alone. It was not created by us. It was created by other forces that are more powerful than all of us together, and we need to have their allyship. And so that would be my takeaway from this. And I'm really excited to be part of this. And I think it's great that we continue this conversation, even though it's been several months since George Floyd died. So that means that this probably will continue more, and we really need more of this. Thank you.
All right, Claudia, thank you so much. Tyler, you're up.
Yeah, so I think the first thing I will say is that it's important to acknowledge the history of all of our ancestors and the work that they've done to get us to where we are today, right? We're not starting from ground zero. A lot of things that have been done, and we need to be able to celebrate those successes and those wins. But leading off of that, we do recognize that there's still so much work to do, right? And so I'll say two more things to kind of wrap up my thoughts. Okay. One is it's completely okay to, going off of what Dr. Haggans was saying, it's completely okay to feel tired, exhausted, and you just need to take a break and just chill out and step back. That's okay, because your feelings are valid, and what's caused you to get here was not because of you. So just allow that to be there. Just be hopeful for the future, right? And there's a lot of people in the community that are out there. There's a lot of resources. I love to hear. I feel super honored to be in this space with you all. I can tell that you all do great work in your community, and I hope to connect with you all. But folks, reach out to these people. They're doing great work. There's resources out there, and you know, we just need to stick together. So love to you all.
All right, Tyler, thanks. Laureen.
First of all, thank you, Galston, for hosting or moderating this panel right here. I wanted to say two things. One, something that was not mentioned in the thing that came through. Some of the comments that she made at the end, she made a point to talk about Black people being involved in selling Black people over into slavery. And so what I wanted to say is it is important that we acknowledge and we honor differences. So I am what I consider, I'm part of ADOS, or American Descendants of Slavery. When Nomsa talked, she talked about being from Zimbabwe. We are both considered Black. However, we have different experiences. And I think that people need to start acknowledging that Black people are not a monolith. So we'll start there. And then with what Dr. Higgins was saying, she mentioned that we're tired. Well, what I want people to put in their spirit is that our children are tired too. Our children are dealing with things at the same time we are, and we're expecting them to be resilient and to survive. Our children are tired. They are sad. They are dealing with people in classrooms who do not like them and teach and treat them as such. So how we respond to our children is critical at this point. BYOP, we have launched some support networks. We have the Black Girl and Black Boy Support Network. If you have children who just want to connect with community and we're totally virtual, send them our way. We will love them intentionally. And we have, shout out to our Allies to Abolitionists support network. They're there too. So if we have allies who want to just get in a community with people and just talk about different things, I'm not going to say what they talked about because I stepped out of the meetings because I did not want them to have to stop what they were saying because I was there. So we want to be intentional in our responses and how we start to undergird our children because they are suffering too.
All right, Laureen, thank you. Zara, if I could have you next with the final thoughts.
Sure. I feel like I'm in class. I don't know who's going to get called on next. But you know, if I were to think through, one, agree with everything that's been said already, this is hard work. It's hard work and it's heart work, as people say, and it will take our lifetimes. And so I agree, if we're tired, take a step back and rest, know that we have to come back to it. But there's also for me a distinction between hard work and sitting in discomfort. And we've got to be willing to sit in the discomfort. And I say this as someone who is not Black. You know, lots of people have sat in discomfort for longer than me and harder than me. And so it's the time really for all of us to put this in. And I say this to non-Black allies and accomplices in this work, is we need to step up now. And that includes, you know, our white brothers and sisters, but it's not getting done unless we're all rolling up our sleeves, all committing to the work, all committing to really a lifetime of it. And the challenge that I'll leave you all with is one that I sit with myself often, is how am I putting my privilege to use? My safety, my protection are not because I earned them. They're an accident of my birth. And so what am I going to do about that? And as a person of faith, I do really believe that I will have to account to my creator, to my maker, with what I did, with what he gave me. And so if we've got some privilege, whatever it is, it's time to put it to use.
Thank you. Herman, you're next.
Well, I think the hope is I'm getting some feedback here.
Okay, let's see if we can try that. You know what, Herman? Let's see. Stand by. We'll come back to you. Let's
mute their phones.
Get this figured out here in a second. Marcel, why don't we go with you first?
All right. First of all, I just want to thank KCRA and you, Galston, for hosting this important forum and having us on. The foundation of what we do as the 100 Black Men of Sacramento is mentoring students here in the Sacramento area, as they do with our 104 chapters that we have nationwide. We absolutely believe that racial justice is a moral issue. And we approach that moral issue through working with our students that we work with in order to, Tyler spoke to about the incredible history that we have as a people. A lot of our students are devoid of that history. Yeah. So we try to educate them on that history, but prepare them for the future. At our high school level, we have a mentoring program that is working on financial literacy and entrepreneurship. The ideal is to teach our students to be prepared to be owners in the futures and not just workers. So I hope that in everything that everybody does in this area of race, that we invest into our youth, because they truly are our next generation of leaders, and we have to raise them right. So thank you.
Marcel, thank you. Herman, let's try you again. I think we got the problem. Maybe the problem's fixed. Maybe it was on our end. Try it again.
So the only thing I can say is we have to make the space to build relationships across broad basis groups of people with different stories and lift them up. Sharing each other's stories and make them as public as possible will create a different awareness out there. There are many people who don't understand the challenges of a kid that's growing up in the poorest neighborhoods with the worst air pollution and the schools with no Zoom capabilities. Those stories have to be raised, and figuring out a way to balance that out in an equitable way. That story sharing is really what we're trying to do here too. So thank you for having us.
Yeah. All right. Thank you for your input. Nomsa.
Oh my goodness, Zara was right. Every time I was like, okay, and then it's like school. Love it. Thank you so much, Gulston and KCRA, for having us. You asked, how do we do more than just talk? You start with things like what you're doing right now. I have learned so much from the people on this panel. And I believe that it starts with community building. If nothing else that we've learned in 2020 with COVID-19 being in a global pandemic, it's that if you want to go far, go together. So at my organization, everything we do is basically about countering bias and giving people opportunities. If you're interested in a segment on election security, regardless of who you're going to vote for, we're hosting a web event next Tuesday, and I have our info. We're on Instagram, LinkedIn, and Twitter at WCAPS West Coast. And I really look forward to more conversations like this, Gulston, and I look forward to more conversations and more work from everybody on this panel. We can't do it alone. It's never been done, and it never will be done. Thank you.
All right. Thank you. Well, Ron Jimenez, looks like you get the last word. Oh, go ahead and unmute.
Sorry about that. I do so many of these, I think I'm always unmuted. So anyway, thanks again, Gulston, for hosting this in KCRA. Our organization is built upon hearing the stories of others and listening to the community. Have our ear open. So we're doing community organizing in churches, schools, neighborhoods, and nonprofits to build the civic power to address the inequities in our communities and the views of the people. There's 375,000 Latinos in this area, and with the coordination of these institutions and nonprofits, we want to hear about their issues on the health, the education. There's a lot of issues that need to be addressed, and we have to have that ear. We have to listen to the people of our communities to really get the heartbeat. What is their issues? How can we help as nonprofits? So we're out there. Herman at one time gave me a quote from Confucius. It does not matter how slowly you go, so long as you do not stop. And that's what the United Latinos is, the carrying on when my term is up and others take the lead. And thank you again.
All right, Ron, thank you. And it's just been a real pleasure having this conversation with all of you as I look at all of your boxes there. And it's just been a enlightening, eye-opening, boy, we almost went, well, a little more than a half hour. So we had a lot of good things to say. And I think it was just something that was really important for us to do for our viewers here in Northern California, also on the Central Coast, also in the Bay Area, just to kind of just decompress and kind of unpack a little bit of what we saw with Soledad's a very insightful program tonight. So to all of you, I say thank you for giving us part of your time. And to all of our Facebook viewers, thank you for tuning in. And anything positive to come out of this, it always starts with a conversation. And to that end, you guys have just done fantastic. So with that, I will just hope you have a really good rest of your evening, and thank you for joining us tonight.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Gulston.
All right, bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you, everyone.